Hello and welcome to Understanding Anxiety. I'm Robson from Faversham Hypnotherapy, and today I'm going to talk about something that I hear quite a lot of in the office from my clients. And they'll say to me that, I understand my anxiety. I know what it is. I know I'm probably safe, but why does it keep happening? And it's a really good question, because there can be a big difference between, intellectually understanding something and then your nervous system, responding differently. So imagine somebody who's become frightened of dogs, after being bitten by one. You could explain to them that, as you're walking down the street, you see a dog, it's standing 20 feet away, and that dog is completely uninterested in you. It's perfectly friendly. And, the person might completely believe you, but their body may still react. Their heart speeds up, muscles tighten, and they're probably going to feel that urge to simply run away. Well, it doesn't mean they haven't understood your explanation. It means just, another part of their brain has learned something as well. And anxiety can work in a very similar way. Perhaps at some point, you might have experienced a panic attack in a supermarket. It's very common. Now, supermarkets aren't dangerous. You've been in hundreds of them, all throughout your life. But the next time you walk into one, after the panic attack episode, you notice something. Maybe your heart beats slightly faster. And immediately you remember what happened before. You start checking in with yourself. Am I feeling dizzy? Is my heart beating too quickly? Could it happen again? And suddenly something completely ordinary has become associated with danger. And this is one reason simply telling somebody not to worry doesn't work. You'd simply say, there's nothing to worry about, and the problem would disappear. But anxiety isn't always responding to what you consciously believe. And that's really important. It can be responding to what it's learned. And sometimes those learned responses become an automatic thinking process. So when you hit your trigger, you instantly go on alert without even consciously thinking about anything. And there's another part of this which is worth understanding. When people become anxious, they naturally try to protect themselves. They might start, avoiding somewhere. Avoidance, really, really common. They might begin to sit close to an exit. And I'd say this, I've had a couple of clients recently where, if they go to a cinema or a theatre, they'll make sure that they're sitting close to the exit. They might ask somebody to go with them. They might constantly check their body or look up symptoms online. And every one of those things makes perfect sense at the time, in that present moment. The problem is that the brain can interpret those behaviours in a very simple way. Remember, the brain's really complicated, but sometimes, it's just so simple sometimes. It kind of says to itself, if we need to do, all these things, checking in with yourself and sitting next to exits to stay safe, perhaps there is real danger. So the thing designed to reduce anxiety can sometimes accidentally keep the anxiety pattern going. And this is why anxiety just becomes so frustrating for people. You can understand exactly what's happening and still find yourself reacting. But, there's something encouraging about understanding anxiety in this way. Because if a response has been learned, it isn't necessarily permanent. The brain is capable of learning something different. And hypnosis is obviously brilliant for this. And to learn something different, that doesn't usually happen by fighting the anxiety. In fact, constantly fighting the feeling can make it seem, even more important. Change often begins when your nervous system starts having these different experiences. So you notice the feeling and nothing terrible happens. The brain thinks, interesting. You experience some anxiety and then you just allow it to settle. And you find out that the sensation you were frightened of is uncomfortable rather than dangerous. And little by little, the brain begins to change. And eventually, something that once automatically triggered anxiety may begin to feel a little bit more ordinary again, a little bit more rational. And that's an important distinction. The aim isn't necessarily to create a life where you never experience anxiety, because that would be daft. Anxiety is, after all, a normal human response. The aim is for anxiety to become appropriate again, whatever normal level of anxiety is, something that appears, when it's useful. So rather than something that's constantly looking for danger where there isn't any. So if you've ever thought, I understand my anxiety, so I fixed it yet, don't assume that understanding hasn't helped. Understanding can be the beginning. But sometimes the nervous system needs an opportunity to learn the same thing that the thinking part of you already knows. So I'm Neil Robson from Faversham Hypnotherapy, and this has been Understanding Anxiety. And if anxiety is restricting your life in any way, shape or form, and you'd like to talk about working with me, you can find Faversham Hypnotherapy online, and you can simply book a free consultation and we'll have a chat. So I'll speak to you again in the next episode. Cheers for listening.